Good evening, and welcome. Tonight, we're going to take a closer look at one of the most powerful natural forces that often impacts the state of Alabama: tornadoes. In recent years, Alabama has experienced some devastating storms, particularly tornadoes that have left behind destruction and heartbreak, yet also moments of resilience and recovery. Let's explore the science behind these storms, their impacts on communities, and the ongoing efforts to rebuild. Tornadoes are violent windstorms characterized by a twisting, funnel-shaped cloud. These storms are capable of incredible destruction, packing winds of up to 300 miles per hour. Tornadoes form from severe thunderstorms, particularly in what is known as Tornado Alley. But Alabama lies within what is sometimes called Dixie Alley, a region that frequently experiences tornadoes, particularly in the spring. The key ingredients for tornado formation in Alabama include warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico, combined with cool, dry air from the north. When these air masses meet, it creates the perfect environment for a tornado to develop. In recent years, Alabama has faced several severe tornado outbreaks. One of the most significant was on April 27, 2011, a day known as the April 27th tornado outbreak. This devastating series of storms produced 62 tornadoes across the state of Alabama alone. The tornado outbreak resulted in widespread destruction. In cities like Tuscaloosa and Birmingham, entire neighborhoods were flattened, and hundreds of people lost their lives. The EF4 and EF5 tornadoes were among the strongest, with winds reaching up to 210 miles per hour. The destruction left in their wake was unimaginable. Buildings were reduced to rubble, trees were uprooted, and lives were forever changed. The impact of these tornadoes was not only physical but emotional and psychological. Entire families lost homes, schools were destroyed, and local businesses that once thrived were wiped out. The aftermath created a long road to recovery, not only for the affected towns but for every person who experienced the trauma of that day. In Tuscaloosa, the University of Alabama was hit hard. The tornado tore through the heart of the city, damaging countless homes and businesses. The university's campus itself sustained significant damage, but the sense of unity that followed in the wake of the disaster helped the community to rebuild. Meanwhile, in Birmingham, the historic district was severely affected. The city faced a massive cleanup operation, and thousands of volunteers rallied to help remove debris and rebuild homes. Alabama's spirit of resilience was on full display as communities came together to rebuild. When disaster strikes, recovery is never immediate. It takes time, resources, and an incredible amount of coordination. Alabama's response to the tornadoes of 2011 was an example of community solidarity and strength. State and federal emergency response teams were quickly deployed, including the National Guard and FEMA. These organizations provided critical assistance, from search and rescue operations to providing temporary housing for displaced families. In the aftermath, organizations like the American Red Cross, local churches, and volunteers from across the country offered supplies, food, and emotional support to those affected by the storms. Local businesses also stepped in to help, offering to rebuild at reduced rates or even free of charge. While tornadoes can strike at any time, the people of Alabama have become more prepared than ever to face these powerful storms. Schools, hospitals, and public buildings have been fortified to withstand severe winds, and tornado sirens have been installed in many communities. The use of modern weather technology has also improved warning systems. Local meteorologists are now able to provide more accurate forecasts, giving people more time to seek shelter. Social media platforms and apps have also become critical tools in keeping people informed in real time during severe weather events. The collision of these air masses created a breeding ground for severe weather, and by April 3rd, the first tornado had already touched down in Lauderdale County, a harbinger of the devastation to come. The sight of the tornado forming was both mesmerizing and terrifying. Alabama's local communities have continued to build tornado-safe shelters, and there has been a strong push for public education about tornado preparedness. The state even hosts annual drills to ensure that residents know what to do when a tornado warning is issued. Despite the tragic loss and destruction caused by tornadoes, Alabama remains a beacon of hope and recovery. While tornadoes are a part of life in this region, the state has proven that even in the face of natural disaster, people can rebuild, recover, and stand strong. As climate change brings more unpredictable weather patterns and extreme storms, it's crucial that communities continue to be vigilant and prepared. The lessons learned from past tornadoes will only help make Alabama more resilient to the storms of the future. Tornadoes will always be a risk in Alabama, but the stories of survival, unity, and strength remind us that communities can rebuild even in the face of overwhelming destruction. The road to recovery is never easy, but it's one that Alabamians walk together, showing the world the power of resilience in the face of nature's fury. Thank you for joining us tonight. We hope this story of Alabama's tornadoes has offered you a better understanding of the devastation, recovery, and ongoing efforts to stay prepared. Stay safe, and remember that together, we are always stronger. A sense of dread settled over North Alabama, as if the very air was charged with foreboding. The eerie calm before the storm was shattered by the piercing wail of tornado sirens echoing through the quiet streets. A sound that sent chills down the spines of even the most seasoned storm veterans, signaling imminent danger. The National Weather Service issued a dire warning. A confirmed tornado was on the ground in Mississippi, bearing down on the Alabama state line with alarming speed. The storm, a monstrous supercell thunderstorm, was moving rapidly eastward, packing winds estimated to be in excess of 150 miles per hour, capable of causing widespread devastation. The radar signature was ominous, showing a large rotating mass of clouds and precipitation, a clear indication of a powerful tornado. A telltale sign of a powerful tornado, the funnel cloud began to form, twisting ominously in the sky. The storm was relentless, its path illuminated by flashes of lightning that seemed to tear the sky asunder, creating a terrifying spectacle. The National Weather Service issued a particularly urgent warning for several counties in North Alabama, including Marshall, Jackson, Madison, and DeKalb, urging residents to take immediate action. Residents in these areas were urged to take immediate cover as the tornado was moving quickly and could be upon them within minutes, leaving little time to react. As the tornado roared across the Alabama state line, its presence was felt far and wide. The ground trembled beneath its fury, shaking with an intensity that seemed almost otherworldly. The sky turned an eerie shade of green, a foreboding signal of the chaos to come. The air grew heavy with the smell of pine needles and freshly turned earth, a scent that would forever be associated with the storm. For those in the path of the storm, the world seemed to shrink to the confines of their shelters, their hearts pounding with fear. The only sounds were the deafening roar of the wind and the clatter of debris against whatever protection they could find, a cacophony of destruction. The tornado, a monstrous wedge tornado, carved a path of destruction through the Alabama countryside, leaving nothing but devastation in its wake. Trees that had stood for generations were snapped like twigs, their mighty trunks no match for the storm's power. Their roots were ripped from the earth, leaving gaping holes where they once stood tall. Homes were reduced to rubble in an instant, their walls and roofs torn apart as if made of paper. Their contents were scattered for miles, personal belongings becoming unrecognizable debris. Cars and trucks were tossed about like toys, hurled through the air with terrifying force. Their metal frames were twisted and mangled beyond recognition, a testament to the storm's sheer power. Eyewitness accounts painted a terrifying picture of the storm's power, each story more harrowing than the last. One survivor, huddled in his basement with his family, described the sound as a freight train crossed with a jet engine, a noise that would haunt him forever. The ground shook so violently that he feared they would be sucked out of their shelter, a fear that lingered long after the storm had passed. As the sun rose on April 7th, the true extent of the devastation became horrifyingly clear. The tornado, which had been on the ground for nearly an hour, had carved a path of destruction over 50 miles long and a mile wide. Entire communities were in ruins, the landscape scarred with the debris field of shattered homes, businesses, and lives. Search and rescue teams, many of them volunteers from neighboring communities, fanned out across the disaster area, their grim task made all the more difficult by the widespread damage to infrastructure. Roads were impassable, littered with downed trees, power lines, and the wreckage of buildings. Communication was sporadic at best, with cell towers knocked offline and landlines cut. The stories that emerged from the rubble were a mix of heartbreak and hope. There were tales of miraculous survival, of families pulled from the wreckage, their lives spared by sheer luck or the quick thinking of loved ones. But there were also stories of profound loss, of families torn apart, of lives cut tragically short. Section 5. The Deluge. As if the tornadoes weren't enough, the storm system brought with it another threat: torrential rainfall. Across Alabama, rivers and creeks overflowed their banks, inundating homes, businesses, and roadways. The floodwaters rose quickly, trapping residents in their homes and turning streets into raging rivers. In Birmingham, Alabama's largest city, the situation was particularly dire. The city's drainage system, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of water, backed up, flooding homes and businesses in low-lying areas. Cars were submerged, their roofs barely visible above the murky water. Emergency responders worked tirelessly, using boats and high-water vehicles to rescue stranded residents and transport them to safety. The flooding extended far beyond Birmingham, impacting communities across the state. In some areas, the floodwaters were so high that residents were forced to evacuate their homes, seeking refuge in shelters set up by the Red Cross and other relief organizations. The tornadoes and flooding in Alabama were only part of a larger, multi-state severe weather outbreak that left a trail of destruction across the southeastern United States. From Texas to the Carolinas, communities grappled with the aftermath of tornadoes, high winds, and heavy rainfall. In neighboring Mississippi, a particularly violent tornado ripped through the town of Amory, reducing homes to rubble and claiming the lives of several residents. The storm, an EF3 on the enhanced Fujita scale, packed winds of up to 165 miles per hour, leaving a path of destruction nearly 2 miles wide. The storm system also brought heavy rainfall and flooding to parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and Kentucky, overwhelming rivers and streams and forcing evacuations in some areas. The widespread nature of the outbreak stretched emergency resources thin as communities across the region struggled to cope with the aftermath. For many Alabamians, the April 2025 tornadoes and flooding brought back painful memories of past disasters. In 2011, a series of deadly tornadoes ripped through the state, killing over 200 people and causing billions of dollars in damage. The 2011 outbreak left an indelible mark on the state, serving as a stark reminder of the destructive power of nature. The April 2025 outbreak, while not as deadly as the 2011 event, still served as a sobering reminder of the importance of preparedness. Many communities in Alabama have invested in storm shelters and early warning systems in the years since the 2011 tornadoes, and these investments undoubtedly saved lives. However, the 2025 outbreak also highlighted the fact that there is still work to be done when it comes to disaster preparedness. Many communities in Alabama still lack adequate storm shelters, and communication systems can be improved. In the aftermath of the April 2025 tornadoes and flooding, the people of Alabama once again demonstrated their resilience and compassion. Neighbors helped neighbors, volunteers flocked to the hardest-hit areas, and donations poured in from across the country. The recovery process will be long and arduous, but the people of Alabama are no strangers to adversity. They will rebuild their homes and their lives, drawing strength from their community and their faith. As the state begins the long process of rebuilding, it is important to remember the lessons learned from this disaster. Preparedness is key. Having a plan, knowing where to go for shelter, and staying informed about weather threats can mean the difference between life and death. The road to recovery from the April 2025 tornadoes and flooding will be long and challenging, but the people of Alabama have shown time and again that they are resilient. The outpouring of support from across the state and the nation is a testament to the spirit of compassion and generosity that shines brightest in times of need. As communities begin the arduous task of rebuilding, it is imperative that we remember the lessons learned from this disaster. Investing in storm-resistant infrastructure, strengthening early warning systems, and promoting a culture of preparedness are crucial steps in mitigating the impact of future severe weather events. The scars of this disaster will remain etched on the landscape and in the hearts of those affected for years to come. However, through unity, determination, and a shared commitment to creating a safer future, the people of Alabama will emerge from this tragedy stronger than ever.